I'm right here. Come and get me.
With pleasure.
Whether it was their look, sound, or overall presence, which horror movie villain reveal was totally different than what you were expecting? Let us know in the comments below.
Number 20. Kevin Peter Hall, The Predator franchise. In the more modern movie era, you expect an increased use of technology like CGI to create the look of a villain as imposing as the Predator. But in the 80s and 90s, all it took was extremely skilled makeup, prosthetics, and costume teams, along with the talent of a very tall actor. Standing at over 7 feet tall, there's no denying Hall's stature was intimidating, but according to his co-workers, he was as gentle as they came. Still, when he put on the suit, designed by Stan Winston, his background in dance and sports seemingly took over with what Hall himself reportedly called, quote, silent acting. Thus, he became the first film Predator, reprising the role in the 1990 sequel. Number 19. Tom Woodruff Jr., Pumpkinhead. Reportedly over 6 feet tall, Woodruff Jr. still needed the help of leg extensions to bring Pumpkinhead to life in the original 1988 movie. As expressive as the villain is throughout, you might believe that you are watching the actor's actual facial expressions coming through the mask. Yet those were actually radio-controlled. Of course, that's part of what makes this unmasking so shocking, and makes the character of Pumpkinhead even more interesting. We'd also be remiss not to mention the fact that the actor not only wore the costume, he also worked on it as part of the artist team. Number 18. Delphine Chenayak, Splice. While many horror movies rely largely on suits and masks to turn the actors into villainous creatures, Splice's dren is largely an extension of the actress herself. According to Chenayak, it was her own face and body, combined with makeup, prosthetics, and CG extras that were used to turn her into the human-animal hybrid. The actor even shaved her head for the role.
They just make the foundation and they put a scare there because I have a big scare on my head, for real, and they do it until there. I have some prosthetic onto my arms.
As if that wasn't impressive enough, she reportedly worked in heels in order to boost the mutant's height. When you mix all of that with her stellar acting, it's no wonder Dren is so compelling to watch. Number 17. Lon Cheney, The Phantom of the Opera. Before Andrew Lloyd Webber brought the 1910 novel's opera ghost to life on stage, he was notably realized into existence on film by the unparalleled vision of Lon Cheney. A gifted actor and makeup artist, the man of 1,000 faces wore many proverbial and literal masks throughout his career, but perhaps none was more terrifyingly transformative than this. He achieved the look with practical materials like putty and grease paint, along with strategically placed pencil lines and design highlights. Stuffing inside his face and wiring within his nose distorted the handsome man's visage, sometimes to a point that he would reportedly shed blood. The skull cap was but a finishing touch. It was all worth it when the eventual on-screen appearance apparently caused some audiences to faint. Number 16. Marina Mazeppa, Malignant. Before landing the role in Malignant, Marina amazed on America's Got Talent. Director James Wan was so impressed by her skills that he wanted her specifically for the role of Gabriel. The character's movements are so fantastic it's hard to believe there's a real person performing them. Believe it or not, they were executed by Marina herself, though she didn't provide the voice.
Sit yourself over me, her own flesh and blood.
Apparently, fake arms and legs were considered for use, but the actress could do the moves better on her own. According to story writer Ingrid Bijou, Gabriel's physicality was crafted practically, with very little CG assistance. To say Marina Mazeppa nailed it would be an understatement. Number 15. Dane Farwell and Roger L. Jackson, The Scream franchise. Ghostface is as iconic a horror villain as they come, but bringing the character to life isn't a one-person job. Roger L. Jackson provides the villain's creepy, bone-chilling voice throughout the franchise, and no matter how many times we hear it, we cannot help but get spooked.
You hang up on me and I'll cut through your neck until I feel bone.
Who is it? It's for you.
Farwell, for his part, dons the costume for much of the original movie, as well as in Scream 2 and Scream 4. While neither Jackson nor Farwell play the actual characters who end up revealed as the murderers behind the costume, they're the main reasons Ghostface is so terrifying. Without their work, the franchise likely wouldn't be where it is today.
Now I see something red.
Number 14. Kane Hodder, the Friday the 13th franchise. When Kane Hodder first became Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, it felt like everything changed. He ultimately played the part in 4 movies, and when you think of what a great job he does, it's easy to see why. Granted, he is one in a long line of Jasons, but his version arguably marks the biggest contrast between the villain we see and the actor's appearance.
Buechler's thoughts were that he's kind of a rotted corpse, and the makeup was real extensive.
Of course, work was done on all different iterations to create the faces of the boy who drowned at camp. But in every movie Hodder is in, Jason is so gruesome looking, it's impossible not to be blown away by the transformations. Number 13. Matthew Patrick Davis, Barbarian. Talk about dedicating your body to your art. Indeed, Davis had to be largely naked when the time came to craft the mother. Not just that, he removed his body hair, wore different colored contacts, and got fake teeth and prosthetics to help create the look. But there is no suit or mask. It's all directly on his body. Looking at the horrifying mother, Davis's face would be the last one we'd imagine if we didn't know any better.
Every day I was in awe and relieved, oh, she doesn't look like me.
Underneath the makeup and prosthetics is actually a quite pleasant-looking person. Of course, you would never guess it watching him completely become Barbarian's villain, which is a testament to both his skill and the visual work. Number 12. Warwick Davis, the Leprechaun franchise. Davis has a pretty wide smile, so it's possible that at least some of the Leprechaun's devious, devilish grin is just him. But that doesn't make it any less impressive. More interestingly still, the process of applying the makeup for the character reportedly took 3 hours, and the actor had to remain as still as possible throughout.
Say, aren't we a little young to be out this late?
No, I'm 600 years old.
The whole ordeal sounds like a nightmare, which is fitting since the end result is a nightmarish creature. But Davis makes it look easy, doing a fantastic job in his Leprechaun films. His work is so fantastic, in fact, it's hard to imagine he's the same person behind Professor Flitwick and Griphook in the Harry Potter franchise. Number 11. Jonathan Breck, the Jeepers Creepers franchise. As you might expect, the creeper from these movies looks, well, pretty darn creepy. But the true face of the man behind the mask and makeup in the franchise's first 3 movies might surprise you. When you look at a photo of Jonathan Breck on a regular day, villain probably isn't the first word that comes to mind. But for the part, he wore a latex suit and underwent an intense makeup process that completely changed his appearance. Like any good horror movie bad guy, the actor really committed to the role so that it felt like he and the creeper were one and the same. Number 10. Bill Skarsgard, It.
What a nice boat. Do you want it back?
Just as Tim Curry traumatized a generation of kids in 1990 with his turn as the horrific Pennywise the Dancing Clown, so too did Bill Skarsgard for the 2017 adaptation of Stephen King's classic story. Skarsgard's handsome Scandinavian features are barely recognizable behind the creepy clown makeup and costume, and the actor plays up the character with a malevolence largely missing from the 1990 version. If Curry's Pennywise was more traditional in its good clown gone bad aesthetic, then Skarsgard's takes the separation of actor from role even further by totally losing himself in Pennywise's over-the-top, soul-eating evil.
And I just started, with the laugh.
In the car, driving through Hollywood in clown face, laughing like a maniac.
Number 9. Davey Chase, The Ring. One could argue that this American adaptation of a fan-favorite Japanese horror film hasn't aged particularly well. Still, young Davey Chase's portrayal of the vengeful ghost Samara remains one of the most iconic horror images of the early 2000s. The scene where Samara emerges from the TV screen in her cursed videotape was parodied to death at the time, yet Chase sells it with remarkable poise and genuine chills. Dripping wet, with a menacing crawl and effective makeup, it is a complete 180 visual when compared to DeVay's everyday look, which thankfully does not involve murdering people with a VHS chain letter. Number 8. Tom Fitzpatrick, The Insidious franchise. The Insidious franchise is known for its eye-catching visuals and memorable musical score, both of which go hand in hand with two of the series' lead villains. For starters, Insidious composer Joseph Bishara is the man responsible for playing the series' iconic lipstick-faced demon, while Tom Fitzpatrick took over the role of Parker Crane, also known as the Bride in Black for the franchise's second and third installments. Fitzpatrick is barely recognizable underneath an elaborately laced gown and veil, while his face is similarly decked out in an impressive, creepy makeup job that still gives us the chills. Number 7. Doug Bradley, the Hellraiser franchise.
Nobody escapes us.
Speaking of horror franchises, the Hellraiser series is one that's continued, for better or worse, right on to the modern day. It's the franchise's lead Cenobite, Pinhead, played by Doug Bradley, that serves as its most recognizable character. The esteemed British thespian portrayed the stately demon for a total of 8 films before departing in 2011. Bradley always seemed to approach Pinhead with a seriousness and respect that elevated the character above other, more basic or animalistic villains. There's an intelligence there matched only by Pinhead's penchant for pain and bloodletting, which, while Bradley's striking face and booming authoritative voice, make him the one and only Pinhead for his legions of fans.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Number 6. Robert Englund, the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Come to Freddy.
Doug Bradley isn't the only horror actor closely associated with his role. For fans of the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, there is only one man who can portray the dream demon murderer Freddy Krueger: Robert Englund. The native Californian actually boasts a large and varied resume to his credit, working in everything from comedy and drama to underground hits like Eaten Alive and Galaxy of Terror. Still, it's those horrible burn scars, striped sweater, and iconic razor-fingered glove that have endeared Englund to the Nightmare faithful. Often overlooked is his compelling body language, which draws on influences from classic westerns to portray Freddy almost like some sort of supernatural gunslinger.
Please, God. This is God.
Number 5. Nick Castle and Tony Moran, the Halloween franchise. To be honest, there isn't just one actor who can be considered the one and only Michael Myers. John Carpenter's iconic boogeyman has been portrayed by a number of people over the years, with no less than 5 taking up the mantle in the first film alone. However, it's Nick Castle and Tony Moran who might be the most closely associated with the role, despite the latter's claim to fame only being the unmasking scene at the film's climax. Castle plays Myers throughout most of Halloween's runtime, shifting to production designer Tommy Lee Wallace, stuntman James Winburn, and producer Deborah Hill for other shots. Castle would eventually return to the franchise, appearing in the 2018, 2021, and 2022 sequels. Number 4. Gunar Hansen, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Leatherface is another horror icon who's been portrayed by a number of actors over the years. But this time, there's only one name we really need to discuss: Gunar Hansen. This isn't taking anything away from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre's solid first 2 sequels, but it's Hansen's body language that brings Leatherface to life in Tobe Hooper's initial masterpiece. Hansen may have come across as menacing on screen, but the feedback from those who knew and worked with him is that Gunar was one of the nicest, most genuine guys around. Number 3. Bonnie Aarons, The Nun. Today's horror movie trailers generally aren't cut from the same sort of restrained cloth as they were in the 70s and 80s. That said, it can be difficult for a trailer to generate the sort of buzz earned by The Nun in 2018, which was thanks largely to the work of Bonnie Aarons as the titular character. This offshoot from the Conjuring universe featured Aarons in some striking and memorable makeup, while her performance in the role felt believable enough to earn praise even from die-hard fans of the franchise. And this wasn't the first time Aarons had given her all for a role, as she delivered a similarly menacing performance in the non-horror film Mulholland Drive as a frightening back-alley bum. Number 2. Balaji Badejo, Alien.
Dallas?
Many actors on this list are closely associated with the franchise and its cinematic legacy. That was not the case with Nigerian performer Balaji Badejo, who only had one screen credit to his name, that of the titular xenomorph in Ridley Scott's Alien. Badejo was discovered in London by Scott's crew while studying there for a degree in graphic design, and was immediately cast in the role due to his towering 6-foot 10-inch frame. Badejo's height was imperative for capturing the xenomorph's menacing gait and stance, yet the actor never again returned to the role. Instead, Badejo lived out his life back home running an art gallery, until he sadly succumbed to sickle cell anemia in 1992. Number 1. Doug Jones, Pan's Labyrinth.
¿Sois vos?
Directors often have a troupe of actors around them with whom they collaborate on many projects. Doug Jones certainly seems to fit into that category when it comes to the filmography of Guillermo del Toro, serving as something of a good luck charm for the acclaimed director. Jones has provided his talent for physical acting and transformations in films such as Hellboy and The Shape of Water, but it was his performances as both the Faun and Pale Man in Pan's Labyrinth that earned him the most critical acclaim. It's frankly incredible how much Jones brings to these characters with his body language and graceful movements, saying as much with a single hand gesture as other actors could deliver in an entire monologue.
Este es el libro de las encrucijadas.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.